Hello everyone. This is a video that's basically going to cover Social Work 208 course looking at Blackboard in the portal. As you can see on the Getting Started page, I have provided you with information that will aid in your successful completion of this course. So in the Blackboard, under instructors information, you'll see that my name is there along with contact information and phone number to include my email address. I've also taken the liberty to post a welcome to Human Behavior and Social Environment 2. In addition, as you arrow down, you'll see that I provided you with a Blackboard refresher. This is information on how to navigate Blackboard. And I also posted a sample discussion post on what your post should look like, being supported by the textbook or peer review article, in addition on how you should be responding to your peers, and also ensuring that you cite or reference your post to your peers. So what I'm looking for in your discussion post is a cited reference post from you to the question, and I'm also looking for you to reference your post to your peers. It's very important that you remember that. Please take a look at what other students are doing who are following the correct format to ensure that you receive the full grade for this particular assignment. So it's very important that you not only cite your post, but also your post to your peers. I also provided you with a discussion rubric. When you click on the link, it'll give you the rubrics for the discussion and how I'll be grading you with that. Just below that, I have some handouts that looks at the Genogram and Echomap handouts. It's very important that you print both of these because in one part of your assignment, you're going to be required to do a Genogram and an Echomap on your family. So when you look at the genogram, it's going to be a representation of your family from 3 generations, and also reviewing some of the basically symbols that you'll be using in the textbook to identify individuals in your family. In other words, if you have someone who's deceased, you'll see how to identify that individual on your genogram as being deceased. In other words, if it's a square, it's a male. If it's a circle, it's a female. So if you have an X in the square or circle, that means that that individual is deceased. And the only thing you would be required to do after that is the date of their decease. You might want to also indicate if they died from, let's say, pneumonia. You may want to identify that. So definitely print out the genogram information and the rubrics. And I also provided you with a sample of a genogram and Echomap of the Sanchez family. So when you're looking at the Sanchez family, it'll give you an opportunity to compare what your family would look like. So you have your genogram for your Echomap and your you have a sample of your genogram and Echomap that you'll be doing on self. I've also provided you with 2 sample papers for this assignment in which you're going to be required to write a biopsychosocial spirituality assessment on an elderly individual other than your own ethnicity or race. I also provided you with basically APA handouts. You have a template example for APA writing style. I recommend that you definitely click on that link and save that template so that you can start your paper. I've also provided you below that with a rubrics for your final paper, so you'll have an opportunity to take a look at that. So basically, it's very important that you look at what I have in the Getting Started page, print it out, make sure that you have it. That way, you'll have that information when needed. As we go back up to the top of the portal, you'll see that there is a link that will guide you to the syllabus. All you have to do is click on that link and you'll come to your syllabus. Now, just below that, you have a course requirement. And so when you do your biopsychosocial spirituality assessment, you're going to be submitting that assignment under papers and projects. So I'm going to click on this link so you can see the assignments that you will have to post under papers and projects. So as you look at under papers and projects, you have a number of assignments that you're going to be submitting in this area. The first one is your biopsychosocial spirituality assessment that you're going to be submitting on October the 12th. So there again is the directions for that assignment and what you should be doing on that assignment. Just below that, in Unit 2, you have an assignment that says biological. In other words, you're going to introduce the person that you're going to be interviewing for your biopsychosocial. You're going to cover the biological aspects, which should be included at the minimum of the following. So you should be identifying the person, whether they're married or unmarried, whether they live alone or with someone or in a facility such like a nursing home. You're going to be talking about their health and how's that. You're going to also write down information about are they taking any medication, and if so, what are they taking the medication for? And then you're going to talk about is there a family history of medical problems such as high blood pressure or cancer. You're going to discuss the person's race and any impact it has on development over the years. So in other words, we know when we get older, we need to be cautious of our nutritional intake. In other words, we cannot eat the same food that we ate when we were much younger. So that assignment is going to be under Unit 2. When you get to Week 2, you're going to be writing about the biological functions of the person that you're interviewing. Just below that, in Unit 5, you're going to be addressing the psychological aspects of the individual you're interviewing. So when you look at that, you're going to be looking at, has this person ever been diagnosed before with a mental illness? Is there any family mental illnesses? So is there a history of family mental illnesses? Is the person retired? How they have adjusted being retired. In other words, shortly after people retire, if they're not fully active, their health deteriorate. So that's why we say that after retired and you're much older, you may want to be thinking about volunteering. So there again, you're gonna be looking at, are they volunteering? And then you're gonna be looking at what theories support this information about their psychological impact. And it's the same when we look down below where it says social. So here again, when you're looking at theories, as I talked about before, I think each of you should really introduce yourself to Erickson's stages of development and actually identify completely where we are. So do some reading on Erickson's stages. Now, be mindful your books is going to talk about other theories. It's going to talk about Maslow. It's going to talk a little bit about Skinner. You're going to see Piaget. So you're going to see Klonberg. Just remember that there are going to be some theories that your textbook covers. But if you really want to follow where people are, you definitely need to spend some time looking at Erickson's stages of development. Just below that in Unit 6, you're going to be looking at the social aspect. Do this individual belong to any organization or social group? Does the person discuss being socially active, or do they remain at home most of their times? Basically, is that due because of financial or health reasons? Do they volunteer again? So here again, you're going to be looking at the theories that address the support of this. In Unit 7, you're going to be looking at the spiritual component of it. Okay, so you're going to look at what gives this person hope. In other words, a lot of time you'll hear people that talks a little bit about, I don't know if I would have made it without God's grace. Uh, Thank God that I'm here. So they depended very heavily on a spiritual component. So here again is where you're going to look at that. Then is there more or less importance in this stage? Does it have more of an impact or does it have less impact on the individual's lives? And then in Unit 8, you're going to have a reflective paper that you have to do. In other words, which is a 1 to 2 page discussing the progress in writing, the process in writing the paper. You're going to also look at classroom experiential learning. You're going to be talking a little bit about the limits, not limits, in writing this paper. Was the writing lab helpful in that? So you're going to be responding to these questions when you do your reflective paper. And as I show you in the Getting Started page, I also have a sample reflective paper that you can look at before you start writing this paper. So as we move back up on the portal again, I'm giving you everything that needs to be submitted under the Papers and Projects section. So each one of these things you're going to address under the Papers and Project section of your assignment. I'm going to look at the discussion next. So I'm clicking on discussion, and basically you have 8 discussions that you have to respond to. And remember, as I told you earlier, that your discussions are going to be due on Thursday, which means your initial post is due on Thursday. And you should be responding to 2 of your peers by Sunday at 11:59. So Unit 1 on Sunday at 11:59 is going to close to you, and you will no longer have that access. And after that, at midnight, Unit 2 is going to pop up. And so you have until Thursday of that week to complete that assignment, and then Sunday of that same week to respond to your peers. So as one unit closes, the other open up. So just be mindful of that. Now here again, if you miss this assignment or you fail to submit an assignment in a timely manner, I will not be opening up this again for you to do this assignment. So it's very important that you understand that you need to be posting your assignment when it's required. As we move forward down to Unit 3, which will open up during week 3 at midnight of that assignment. And so you have until that Thursday to post and so on. So just make sure that all of your discussions are submitted under the discussion section when you get to do the discussion question. As we move on down to the next area under the course requirement is tests and quizzes. So here under tests and quizzes, you have a midterm exam that's going to be available to you on the midnight on the 20th, but you're going to be taking your midterm exam on the 21st. So those of you who are at a different site, you will be emailing me the name of your proctor to include their email and phone contact information. I will email your proctor the password and the requirements for the midterm and final exam that day. So in other words, your proctor will have information for your midterm and your final. If you fail to do this, you will not be able to do the midterm or the final by a proctor. For those of you who are at the Charleston site, you will report just as you will report to class, but we will be in the testing center at that time where you will sign on, click on testing quiz, and then I will type in the password for your midterm exam and final exam. So in other words, your midterm is on the 21st of September and your final is on the 19th of September. Excuse me, on the 19th of October, which is our last day of class. As we look at the portal moving down towards course outline, if you click on Unit 1, you'll find that everything you need to do for that week for Unit 1 is listed under Unit 1. So when you see Unit 1, you see it's an introductory. It's a pretest. If you go further down, you'll see that Social Work 208 has a pretest. You need to take the pretest. It's about 10 questions that you need to respond to. Those same 10 questions are going to be for your post-test. So your grade for the post-test should be much higher than that for your pre-test. Chapter 9 takes a look at gender identity, and gender expression and sexism. So you're required to read that information. There's also a PowerPoint under Unit 1 for that particular lesson. And then you have your Unit 1 discussion, which you should have posted by the 31st. And on Sunday, you should be responding to your peers. So just be mindful of that. Also, you see where this Mind Tap, I'm going to tell you just like I told you in 205, if you're in the Social Work 205 class, you do not have to worry about Mind Tap material because I will be providing you with study guide information for your midterm and your final exam. So you do not have to do the Mind Tap. I will provide you with the needed information you need for that. Under Unit 2, there's a layout of the same thing. So here again, you have what you're going to be doing in Unit 2. You have your PowerPoint. You also have your discussion question that you have to respond to. When you click on Unit 3, you're going to find that it's what you're supposed to be doing during week 3 to include a PowerPoint and the discussion. Unit 4 basically is the writing lab with your draft that's going to be submitted. That's up to you to submit it. If you choose not to, then you wouldn't get the feedback that you need for your final product when it comes to your paper. So it's very important that you actually utilize the writing lab so they can give you some feedback on your draft paper. Also, students will be completing a genogram and Echomap. We will do this information in class, but each student is required to do a genogram, 3 generations of their own family to include an Echomap. Also under Unit 4, you have your PowerPoint, you have your discussion question, and this is where you're going to submit your genogram and Echomap assignment. So just be mindful that during week 4, you should have already done your genogram and Echomap. Also in week 4, you're going to take your midterm exam. When we get to Unit 5, you have your discussion question. Just remember, in Unit 5, in all the units, you have discussion questions that you need to complete. But you should be posting your response under the discussion area when you get to those weeks. And the reason I'm saying that is because it will transfer in the gradebook. What students tend to do, if they miss the date, they go to a unit and upload their response. And what happens is it doesn't transfer to gradebook because they didn't do it during the time frame they needed to submit it. So I won't see it in gradebook. Yes, you would have had posted it, but it would be posted after the date where you should have submitted it. So do not submit your discussions under the unit assignment. All discussions should be submitted in the discussion section. All the response looking at psychological, biological, social, those are submitted under papers and projects. So as we look at Unit 6, here again, you're going to have information. Your PowerPoints are going to be there. You have a discussion. Information is going to be there. Your discussion for Unit 6 won't be available until after October 1st. So here again, you need to be posted in the discussion section. Unit 7. As we look at Unit 7, you have your final draft of your paper. It's telling you you need to submit it, but don't submit it there. Remember, I said your final product is going to be submitted where? Under papers and projects. So just make sure that's where you're going to post your final paper. Because if you post it under the unit, it's not going to transfer over to the grade book where I can be grading your information or your data. So therefore, make sure that you post your information under the area that it needs to be posted. When we look at Unit 8, you have what you should be doing in Unit 8, which you have to complete your reflective paper and submit it under Papers and Projects, not under Unit 8. You have your PowerPoint, you have your discussion, and you have your post-test. Now, you can take your post-test in this area because that's where it's at. It also says you need to do a final exam. When you sign on for your exam, you will not be signing on under the unit. You'll be signing on under tests and quizzes to take your final exam. So everybody need to make sure, especially if you're at another site, that I have your proctor's name, your proctor's phone number, contact information, and that I have their email so that I can email them the password for your exam to include required information in taking the exam. I will also forward up with an email to you letting you know that I have notified your proctor of your exam and you need to set up a date to take your exam with them prior to the exam date. Under notification, I post normally information about announcements, about new information that I provided to you. I also post information regarding reminders about certain assignment at times. So it's very important that you check the course at least 3 times out of the day to ensure that you didn't miss something. Because I may not post it in the morning, I may post an announcement in the afternoon instead. Of course, everybody's familiar with the message system and the grading criteria for the course. So basically what I've done is give you a brief outline of what's in Blackboard in the portal. It's very important that you look at everything that I have for you in the Getting Started page, that you make copies of some of the samples that I gave to you that's going to aid you, that you utilize the APA template that I provided for you when you get ready to write your biopsychosocial spirituality assessment. I want you to also be mindful when you're posting your discussion, you need to reference it. You need to reference your response to your peers. If you fail to do that, you're going to lose points. You should also ensure that you reference information in your paper. So in other words, if you're looking at stages of development, then you should be talking about Erickson stages of development, and either you got it out of the textbook or you got it from a peer review article. Should you have any questions about this video and the things that I cover, please write it down and we can discuss it during class on Thursday. I hope that this was very helpful to you and that it provides you with some much needed information for you to be successful in the course.